These films were seen to only represent one type of culture during the 50s, and that was the working class. This is where the question had become: are British free cinema films a true representation of Britain itself, or do they cover up the harsh times citizens endured post-World War II? 1953's O Dreamland. Creators had a large hand in creating the technical and artistic work that was an essential part in the film's aesthetics. This film portrayed the working-class citizens and their everyday lives. Focused on the positive, easygoing lifestyle that was thought to represent all of Britain during this time, tone of the film was very light but portrayed the everyday middle class with a dull overlay. It was not a strong informational film, it was created in an eye of aesthetic to romanticize the working class and their everyday lives. 1956's Mama Don't Allow. Mama Don't Allow and O Dreamland were the first films to be screened under the Free Cinema banner. The entire film portrays teenagers letting loose after a day at work, a favored pastime activity in London. This film also documented the interaction between males and females. What this film did not portray is the pastime of teenagers who could not participate in such activities or those in different class systems. 1957's Every Day Except Christmas. This film again portrayed the working-class citizens of Britain. It went through the day-to-day activities of the loaders, drivers, and market workers had in detail from the moment a shipment came in. This film employed a loose type of chronology, setting events in place to give viewers a moment-by-moment update through their day. Again, this film did not support all classes in Britain, much like Mama Don't Allow and O Dreamland. Television documentary and Grierson's influence. In the article From Documentary Film to Television Documentaries, John Grierson and This Wonderful World, Joe Fox states that upon its arrival, television was seen as a trivial medium. Eventually, filmmakers prominent during the World War II era wanted to transition from film to television because of the exponential growth and opportunity television was expected to bring. Some distinctions between television and the big screen were television's visual immediacy, liveness, and intimacy. Although filmmakers were excited about the new opportunity, there were some challenges. For example, documentary filmmaker Paul Rotha pointed out that documentaries had to both master a new form of communication that was developing a unique visual identity and mode of address, and to renegotiate their relationship with the documentary form. John Grierson was a highly influential British filmmaker and transitioned from the big screen to television with his documentary series This Wonderful World. According to the article by Fox, This Wonderful World spanned from when television was simply seen as a relay device up until it became a separate cultural form. This Wonderful World was an important part of documentary television because it fostered debate about how television programming could potentially contribute to society. Grierson believed documentaries should have a social purpose, and he wanted his series to educate. He did so by showcasing multiple subjects on the program, combining a mix of natural history, politics, culture, and entertainment. Grierson was also interested in raising the standards of television by using television documentary as a mode to inform and inspire people from around the world by allowing them to access information from everywhere. In addition to this, he felt television documentary could be used to foster global citizenship. Though he had his ambitions, he was wary about the limitations of television. He pointed out that although television might be able to compress local, national, and global space, it was an overall failure in terms of creating a basis for genuine international cultural exchange. He also thought that documentary film and its principles from the 1930s could not be transferred intact to television, as TV didn't have the ability to capture wider and aesthetically important aspects in the same way as the big screen. The impact John Grierson had on British television. The experience he had in the United States gave him a different way of doing documentaries that he had brought back to Britain. Originally, he was hired to do documentaries on the British Empire. Eventually, he focuses his documentaries on government services like the post office because he was trying to show how different services were done in different areas in Britain in order to show the interconnectedness between the different groups in order to develop what each department did. His documentaries were more straightforward and informative. He based his documentaries on social issues, for example, employment, housing problems, malnutrition among the poor, and education. And he decided not to worry to have his movies seen in theaters for the films. Instead, he increased showing them in schools, church basements, etc. The accuracy of free cinema in Britain. Although the aim for these films were to unite Britain, the ways in which the documentaries were constructed favored the working class of Britain. They did not focus on each distinct social class during the time, which made it very difficult for all of Britain to come together. After examining Lindsay Anderson's film of free cinema, one can understand that: 1. Although these documentaries portrayed Britain through various lenses, most of the films romanticized the working class. 2. The lower class citizens of Britain failed to be mentioned and were forgotten in the process of free cinematic production. 3. Free cinema was an important aspect to attempt in building the nationality and unity of Britain during this time, but what it failed to accomplish was to build significant representation of all of Britain. And 4. Many citizens were infuriated with the idea that British free cinema painted a facade of what was really going on during the time, where so many were not accounted for. Discussion questions for the class. Number 1. Do you think it is a documentary's responsibility to accurately portray aspects of real life, like the struggles of the lower class? Why or why not? Number 2. What impact, if any, do you think the British free cinema has had on today's style of documentaries? Number 3. In accordance with John Grierson, do you think documentaries should have a social purpose and educate their audiences? And that concludes the end of this presentation. My group and myself would like to thank my fellow classmates and Dr. Don Moore for your time.